There's a reason people feel comfortable interrupting you mid-sentence. Why they dismiss your ideas before you finish explaining them. Why they talk down to you like you're beneath them. Why they use that tone that makes your stomach tighten. Picture this. You're at a restaurant, and the waiter brings the wrong order. When you politely mention it, he rolls his eyes and says, "Are you sure that's not what you ordered?" With that smirk that says he thinks you're an idiot. Most people, they apologize. "Oh, maybe I wasn't clear enough." They shrink. They accept the wrong food rather than cause a scene. But that waiter just learned something important about you, that you can be disrespected without consequence. It's not because you're not smart enough. It's not because you don't matter. It's because you respond like prey instead of predator. You apologize when they cut you off. You try harder to explain when they dismiss you. You smile politely when they condescend to you. You seek their approval after they've already shown you disrespect. But here's the brutal truth. Every defensive response confirms their assessment of you. Because what's reactive is controllable, and what's controllable gets disrespected. You've been trained your whole life to de-escalate, to be the bigger person, to turn the other cheek. But in a world where people test your boundaries every single day, being the bigger person just makes you a bigger target. The moment you react emotionally, you hand them the knife. The moment you defend yourself, you confirm you needed defending. Machiavelli knew this. He wrote that respect, lost in one moment, takes months to rebuild. A leader who doesn't respond to disrespect immediately loses authority permanently. It doesn't mean you become aggressive or start shouting. It means you must recalibrate the dynamic instantly. Because here's what most people don't realize. In every room, in every conversation, people are watching how you handle being tested. They're not just disrespecting you. They're conducting an experiment. Can we do this to him? Will she let us get away with it? How far can we push before there's pushback? And everyone else is taking notes for future reference. That's the goal. To be someone whose boundaries are never tested. Not because you're mean or intimidating, but because one demonstration taught everyone the cost. When you don't respond with power in that crucial moment, you become the person they practice disrespect on. You become the safe target, the one they know won't bite back. And once that reputation spreads, you'll spend years trying to rebuild what you lost in 30 seconds of weakness. Look at your own interactions. How many times has someone interrupted you, and you just waited, stood there like a good little student while they finished hijacking your point? How many times have they dismissed your idea in a meeting and you tried to re-explain it, hoping they'd suddenly see the value? How many times has someone spoken to you condescendingly, that slow, patronizing voice, and you responded politely because you didn't want to seem difficult? I'll bet you can think of at least 3 times this week alone. That's because you were playing the civility game and they were playing the dominance game. You thought you were being mature, professional, respectful. They saw weakness and decided to test how much you tolerate. They knew you'd back down rather than escalate. They knew you'd over-explain rather than stand firm. They knew you'd seek their approval even after they'd shown you disrespect. And once someone knows you won't recalibrate power dynamics in a moment, they escalate their disrespect and you lose. Not just the conversation, you lose their respect permanently. Machiavelli saw it in political courts. You see it in meetings, relationships, even family dinners. People don't disrespect those they perceive as dangerous. They disrespect those they perceive as emotionally controllable. Because every act of disrespect is actually a test. They're testing your response to establish where you rank in their mental hierarchy. Think about it. You've never seen someone casually interrupt their boss mid-sentence, have you? Or dismiss their professor's explanation with a wave of the hand. They save that behavior for people they've already categorized as safe to disrespect. But here's what's fascinating. The moment you respond with calculated power, even quietly, they immediately adjust their tone and posture. Their whole energy shifts. Why? Because they suddenly realize you're not who they thought you were. You're not the harmless pushover they had filed away in their mind. That instant recalibration, that's respect being born in real time. You spend your whole life trying to be liked after being disrespected. Someone talks down to you, and your first instinct is to win them back, to prove you're actually worth respecting. You chase their approval after they've already shown you they don't think you deserve it. Now, try being feared quietly in the moment of disrespect, not with aggression or volume, not by making a scene or throwing a tantrum, with calculated moves that shift power instantly. Because the person who responds with presence might be remembered, but the person who responds with power is never tested again. Machiavelli never escalated emotionally unless he had already won with psychological dominance. He understood something most people miss. In real interactions, it's not about defending your worth. It's about making them question theirs. When someone disrespects you and you respond with quiet, controlled power, you flip the script entirely. Suddenly, they're the one wondering if they made a mistake. They're the one feeling uncertain. They're the one who has to recalibrate. And that feeling, that uncertainty they experience in your presence, that's how respect is born. Move 1, the surgical pause. Here's what happens. Someone interrupts you mid-sentence. The typical response? You either stop talking and let them take over, or you try to talk louder to reclaim your space. Both responses scream weakness. Machiavelli's move? You stop talking, but you don't retreat. You hold eye contact and pause. Not an awkward pause, a deliberate one. You let the silence stretch just long enough for everyone to notice that something shifted. Then, without acknowledging their interruption, you continue exactly where you left off. As I was saying, why this works, that pause creates tension. Everyone in the room suddenly realizes they just witnessed a power play, and you didn't flinch. The interrupter feels the weight of their rudeness hanging in the air. You've just taught them, and everyone watching, that your words have value that can't be casually dismissed. Move 2, the reversal question. The disrespect. Someone dismisses your idea with condescension. That's not how things work in the real world, or you clearly don't understand how this industry operates. Most people scramble to prove themselves. They over-explain, get defensive, or worse, they apologize. Machiavelli's move? You ask one simple question that flips the power dynamic. Help me understand your expertise in this area. Said calmly, without sarcasm. You just force them to justify their authority to dismiss you. Why this destroys them? They either have to admit they're not actually an expert, or they have to prove their credentials, which puts them in the defensive position they just try to put you in. Either way, they'll think twice before casually dismissing you again. Move 3, the status shift. The setup. Someone speaks to you like you're beneath them. That patronizing tone, the slow explanations, the verbal patting on the head. Normal response? People try to prove they're not stupid. They work overtime to show their competence. Machiavelli's response. You treat them like they're the one who doesn't understand. Let me make this simpler for you. Then you explain your point in the exact same condescending tone they used. Mirror their energy perfectly. The psychological kill shot. They immediately recognize their own behavior reflected back at them. It's uncomfortable, embarrassing, and they can't call you out without admitting they were doing the same thing. You've just shown them how they sound, and they won't like what they hear. Move 4, the exit without explanation. The disrespect, public humiliation, whether it's being talked down to in front of others or having your competence questioned in a group setting. Most people either defend themselves publicly or take it and address it later privately. Machiavelli's nuclear option, you stand up and leave. No explanation, no dramatic exit speech, no anger. You simply remove yourself from the situation with complete calm. Why this breaks their brain? They expected a reaction they could respond to. Instead, you've created a vacuum. Everyone is now focused on your absence, not their disrespect. When you return, and you do return later, the power dynamic has completely shifted. They're now the person who drove someone away, and everyone remembers that. Habit 1. Never be the first to break eye contact. When someone speaks to you, especially if there's tension in the air, You maintain eye contact until they look away first. This sounds simple, but most people unconsciously drop their gaze when they feel uncomfortable. That split-second look away signals submission. Your response: hold steady. Don't stare aggressively. Just maintain calm, unwavering contact. When they finally break first, you've established something without saying a word. The effect: people subconsciously register you as someone who doesn't back down. They start approaching you with more respect because your energy says, "I'm not intimidated by you." This prevents casual disrespect before it starts. Habit 2. Speak slower when challenged. When someone questions your authority or competence, the natural response is to speed up your speech, to rush through your explanation, to prove yourself quickly. This desperation is audible, and it signals weakness. Your response: do the opposite. Slow down. Take a breath. Speak with the measured pace of someone who knows their worth doesn't depend on this person's approval. Machiavelli's principle: urgency suggests you need their validation. Calm suggests you already have your own. People don't disrespect those who seem completely secure in themselves. Habit 3. Let others fill uncomfortable silences. When tension arises in conversation, most people rush to smooth things over. They fill the awkward pause with explanations, jokes, or apologies. You're going to do the opposite. Your response: when someone says something disrespectful or creates tension, you pause. You let the discomfort sit in the air. You wait for them to either clarify what they meant or backtrack entirely. The effect: silence makes people nervous. They'll start explaining themselves, apologizing, or revealing more than they intended. Meanwhile, you've established that you don't feel responsible for managing their emotions or fixing every uncomfortable moment. Habit 4. Answer questions with questions. When someone asks you something in a way that assumes lower status, don't you think you should, or wouldn't it be better if? Resist the urge to justify your choices. Your response: what makes you think that? Or, help me understand your concern. You're not being defensive. You're making them explain why they think they have input on your decisions. Machiavelli's insight: the person asking the questions controls the conversation. By turning their assumption into a question they have to answer, you've reversed the power dynamic. Habit 5. End conversations before they do. Most people stay in conversations until the other person is ready to leave. They wait for permission to exit. This creates an unspoken hierarchy where you're the one seeking engagement. Your response: be the first to wrap up. I'll let you get back to your day, or I have something I need to handle. Leave while the conversation is still positive, before any natural conclusion. The psychological effect: this positions you as someone with important things to do. People start valuing your time more because you clearly value it yourself. When someone values their own time, others instinctively respect their boundaries. There's a fine line between commanding respect and creating enemies, between being someone people respect and being someone people plot against. You don't want to become the office tyrant that everyone secretly hates, or the person who wins every battle but loses every relationship. Machiavelli's genius wasn't in choosing fear over cooperation. It was knowing how to instantly establish hierarchy while maintaining relationships. He understood that power without wisdom breeds rebellion. If people only fear you, they'll comply to your face and sabotage behind your back. But respect without boundaries breeds contempt. If people only like you, they'll walk all over you with a smile. The solution is surgical precision in response. You're not trying to destroy people. You're recalibrating their perception of you. Think of it like adjusting the thermostat. You're not burning the house down. You're just making sure the temperature is exactly where it needs to be. How to build that immediate respect. Machiavelli would do it like this. First, match the energy, don't escalate it. If someone disrespects you at a level 3, you respond at a level 3, not a level 7. This shows control and proportion. Second, address the behavior, not the person. You're not attacking their character. You're correcting their approach. I wasn't finished instead of you're rude. Third, always leave room for them to save face. Give them a path back to respectful interaction. After you've made your point, you can acknowledge something positive about them or the conversation. This way, you've established your boundary without creating a permanent enemy. The goal isn't to humiliate people into submission. It's to train them to treat you with the respect you deserve while keeping the relationship intact. Strategy 1. The authority challenger. The setup. This is the person who questions your decisions or expertise in front of others. They use phrases like, "Are you sure about that?" or "I think it might be wrong," with just enough politeness to seem reasonable. But everyone can feel the challenge underneath. Standard response. Most people either get defensive and start over-explaining their qualifications, or they back down and say something like, "Well, maybe you're right." Both responses hand your authority to them on a silver platter. Power response. You use what I call confident clarification. You say something like, "I'm curious what information you have that I don't." Then you wait. Don't fill the silence. Make them either present actual evidence or admit they're just questioning you for the sake of it. Long-term effect. Authority challengers stop testing you because they know you'll make them back up their challenges with substance. They learn that questioning you isn't a free shot. They better come prepared. Strategy 2. The public humiliation attempt. The setup. Someone tries to embarrass you in front of a group. Maybe they bring up a mistake you made, mock something you said, or tell a story designed to make you look foolish. This is psychological warfare disguised as social interaction. Standard response. People either laugh along, trying to be a good sport, get visibly upset, which gives the attacker exactly what they wanted, or try to defend themselves, which makes them look weak. Power response. You use strategic acknowledgement. You own whatever they're trying to embarrass you with, but you reframe it. "Yeah, that was an interesting learning experience," or "I'm glad I could provide some entertainment." Then you immediately redirect. Speaking of interesting experiences, remember when you just shown that two can play this game. Long-term effect. Public humiliation attempts stop because they backfire. People realize that trying to embarrass you might result in their own embarrassing moment being brought up. Strategy 3. The passive-aggressive attack. The setup. This is the person who never directly confronts you but makes little cutting comments, gives backhanded compliments, or uses sarcasm to chip away at you. Nice presentation. For someone without much experience, or "I'm sure you did your best." Standard response. Most people either ignore it, hoping it will stop, address it directly, which makes them seem overly sensitive, or mirror the passive aggression back, which makes everyone uncomfortable. Power response. You force clarity with innocent questions. When they make a passive-aggressive comment, you respond with genuine curiosity. "What did you mean by that?" Or, "Can you explain what you meant about my experience level?" Make them either clarify their insult, which exposes them, or backtrack, which stops the behavior. Long-term effect. Passive-aggressive people avoid you because you make their preferred method of attack too risky. They can't hide behind plausible deniability when you force them to be explicit. Strategy 4. The group disrespect. The setup. Someone disrespects you when you're with a group of people, counting on the audience to either join in or stay silent. They're using social pressure to amplify their disrespect and minimize your response options. Standard response. People either take it quietly to avoid making a scene, try to laugh it off to defuse tension, or respond with humor to win the crowd back. All of these responses concede power to the disrespecter. Power response. You use controlled escalation. You calmly but firmly address it. "I'm going to stop you right there." Then you state your boundary clearly. "I don't know what you're trying to accomplish, but this conversation is over." If they try to play it off as a joke, you don't laugh. You maintain your serious energy. Long-term effect. Group disrespect becomes too costly because you've shown you'll address it publicly. Other group members also start respecting your boundaries because they've seen what happens when someone crosses them. You've reached the final level, where responding to disrespect with power is no longer something you have to think about. It's automatic. Your body language, your tone, your entire presence has shifted. People can sense it before you even speak. Machiavelli's final form wasn't constantly fighting disrespect. It was never being disrespected in the first place. Because here's what most people don't understand about real power. True power isn't when you win after being disrespected. It's when people calibrate their behavior before speaking to you. Watch how differently people approach someone they respect versus someone they don't. With the respected person, they choose their words more carefully. They wait for pauses before speaking. They ask permission instead of making demands. They say please and thank you without being reminded. This isn't fear, it's recognition. The undisrespectable person cannot be tested casually. Once someone tries to disrespect you and experiences your calculated response, they learn the cost is too high. But here's the beautiful part. Once they realize you're not someone who can be disrespected, they don't even want it anymore. They approach you with natural deference. You become someone whose respect must be earned, not someone desperately trying to earn others' respect. And what's earned is never taken for granted. People start treating your time, your words, and your presence as valuable because you've trained them to see it that way. The transformation is complete. You're no longer the person who gets interrupted, dismissed, or talked down to. You're the person others think twice about before testing. Not because you're cruel or aggressive, but because you've mastered the most important lesson Machiavelli ever taught. Respect isn't given freely, it's commanded quietly.